Jennifer Campbell-Overbeeke is joining us from Asheville, North Carolina, one of my favorite places on earth, and so many others feel the same way, no doubt. She's affiliated with Sotheby's International Realty. Jennifer, thanks so much for joining the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's a beautiful day here.
It is, yeah. I'm in Charlotte, so not too far from you, and
Yeah.
we are looking at a gorgeous forecast, and I heard it's going to be 70 degrees on Christmas Day.
We will take it as long as we can keep it, right?
I'll take it. Yep, I'll
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah.
Jennifer, great to have you. Sotheby's, I mentioned before I hit record, I'm a big fan of the Sotheby's brand. I've had some spectacular, just some amazing brokers with Sotheby's on the podcast in the past. So it's so great to connect with you. Before we dive into your areas of expertise, I always love to get a little bit of a background on guests. I understand Asheville's your hometown. How did you get into real estate?
That can be a very long story. I will try to make it concise.
I get it. Yeah, it's always a
Yeah,
winding road.
totally, totally. I actually, I taught yoga internationally for almost 15 years prior to getting into real estate. And, it was, I've always said that, kind of I go into everything that I do. Like I don't have another option. Like there's no plan B, right?
Hmm.
So it was just, that's what I did for, from the time I graduated college until my mid 30s. And I loved it. But in 2020, I had just gotten off a plane actually from Chennai, India, and I was getting prepared to board another plane to go lead a retreat in Peru um, that March. And then COVID hit. So my whole world just kind of like turned upside down. At the same time, I had moved back a couple of years prior to Western North Carolina. I was in Nashville, Tennessee before that as my home base. And so it just kind of felt like a good time to just recalibrate because I've always been that like all, 100 miles an hour ahead kind of person. And so for 2 years, I taught online, but my schedule was pretty light. I didn't have all my traveling, and we bought a couple of houses in that time span. And all of my realtors and everybody around me just kept pushing me to at least get my license because they said, you've kind of got a knack for this. It feels kind of natural. And so I just thought, well, I've got a little bit of a lighter schedule. I'll get my license just to kind of have it. That's when that whole like, well, we don't have a plan B mindset kicked in. And so I affiliated with a firm and pretty much immediately was off to the races. And yeah, so that's how it started, just like from the logistical perspective.
Hmm.
But I feel like a lot of why I've been successful over the past 5 years is just that kind of relationship building that teaching taught me um, for so long. And then also, I'm in the place that I love the most, like Western North Carolina. For all of my travels, and I've seen some really beautiful places around the world, it's the place that truly I am the most passionate about. So it's just a natural kind of progression.
Would you say that your sphere of influence, your network, that you already had sort of a pretty well established network there in Western North Carolina, and you were able to build on that, or no?
Yeah, I think there was. It wasn't as established as, maybe some people think because I left for 20 years.
Yeah.
I wasn't here. I mean, I do have some friends and my family's here. So that certainly, helped, but I had to establish that again. Um, which was, you know, a pleasure because I love being part of this community. So just being out and about and going to classes and meeting people and being part of, just a bunch of different groups, like it was a natural thing. Yeah.
You mentioned relationship building and how you have an affinity for that, and I think that's worth underscoring because nearly every agent that I've had on this podcast, when we talk about what's most important in real estate to be successful in real estate, and it's really a relationship business, is the sentiment that's repeated over and over again. And I couldn't agree more. So your talent for building relationships obviously has served you well in real estate. What are some of the ways that as you got back to Western North Carolina, you're in the real estate industry. What are some of the ways that you have been able to develop your sphere there in your area since joining real estate as a career?
Yeah, I think that some of it's just natural. I'm really perpetually curious about people. So if you start talking about yourself, I will let you talk about yourself and ask you 100 questions for as long as you want to. Like I want to know people's stories. So that just it's a natural thing. I don't think you really have to try so much. You just have to care, truly.
Hmm.
And then moving over to Premier Sotheby's was a very intentional move for me because like I say, that network, that growing locally is pretty natural for me. But I wanted to be a part of a brand that had a broader reach and was very intentional about how they established that reach. And so I know just because I have a lot of clients I live specifically in Haywood County, which is the county west of Asheville. And the majority of our residents that I was working with were second homes, people that were planning to retire here, just a little bit of a different avenue. And the brands that they know might be a little bit different than the ones that the local, the local people that I grew up with did. And so I just started to get a little bit more awareness that the brands that I knew, like Sotheby's, like Christie's, from being in other locations, actually resonated with them. So I started to do a little research into Sotheby's specifically, um, and found that they just have a really amazing global network. It's not just going to conferences and having a cocktail with people. It's like truly talking about your area, why are you so passionate about it? What opportunities are there? Why do people want to be there? Um, what are your feeder markets? How can you support, you know, your clients' needs as they need to downsize and move closer to their family? I don't just throw out referrals and I don't just receive referrals from people I've never met. Like we have true, honest relationships. And so Sotheby's really provided that. Um, and then just also like the standard of care that we have for our clients' needs, for the way we market properties. I mean, I don't mean this to be a Sotheby's commercial, but sometimes it ends up being that way because it
That's
was,
okay.
like I say, it was an intentional move.
That I feel like that global network really serves you well when it comes to establishing referral partnerships, connecting with those in your feeder markets, and you're not alone. Every Sotheby's agent I've had on the podcast uh, credits their Sotheby's network for much of their success.
Absolutely. And I think you have to be able to utilize the brand. You have to appreciate what the brand offers, and then you have to be the one to take the initiative. So, whether that's our brand or another brand, you got to know why you're there, right? Like
Hmm.
it's not just a place to hang your hat. So, I mean, and I've even gotten into the minutia of the network, not just the larger global networking events, but some of our more regional options. And then we have a historic homes group that is a lovely just group of 30 people. We're going to, Newport, Rhode Island in the spring. So, yeah, it's been really wonderful because we learn from each other as well. We have really important conversations, which no matter what market you are in, are very, very helpful.
But that's the kind of thing that a brand like Sotheby's, where and you mentioned also that you still have to do all the work, right? You have to have the initiative, and you still need to reach out and make connections and build relationships. But an international or global brand will at least set you up for success if you have the initiative.
That's right. Absolutely. And truly, I mean, it doesn't have to be that large of scale either. And every market is different. I do acknowledge that. But in our Asheville office, like we're all pretty close. We have a smaller, more boutique kind of feel to our office. But I really, really respect the professionals there. We have very close relationships. We talk candidly about things. And it's been very helpful because I know that that's not the reality for a lot of offices. There can be some competitive qualities,
For
and
sure.
the majority of our Asheville office, like we're just more collaborative, and learn from each other in that way. So That's been really great too. I've got a friend, Leslie Young, you should probably talk to her as well. And I mean, I swear we talk every single day and it has been so helpful.
I'd love to connect with Leslie Young. I'll follow up with you on that as well. Let's talk a little bit about, get back to maybe some of that relationship building
Mhm.
and specifically marketing. What are some of your favorite marketing channels, marketing strategies, or tactics? And what has been and I hate to use that word tactic, it sounds so cold, but what have been some of your favorite ways of growing brand awareness for Jennifer Campbell-Overbeeke,
Okay.
Premier Sotheby's, and building, launching new relationships there in the community and building your business?
So I don't tend to tout myself as like an expert in anything. And the reason I think I've been successful is because I'm always curious and always wanting to grow and learn and do new things. But I will tell you, I think that what the basis is behind everything that I do from a marketing standpoint is highly targeted storytelling. Whether that is, a whole video package that I do for my listings that is both on camera and off camera, highlighting specific elements of a home and what it's like to live there, what it's like to live in the area. Um, if it's, I just had a broker open house for one of my listings that is just an amazing, amazing listing, very quintessential to this particular country club. The architecture is incredible, but I did a very targeted campaign to get specific agents in the door who also cared about the story of that home. Um, I do all of my listings that, well, not all, but the majority of my listings, I do listing agent a company so that I can be there, kind of help guide the buyer's agent as I'm listening to their conversations and how might this home fit that person's lifestyle? How might the story of this home fit the story of that particular buyer? So it's just an investment. But I would say that's the foundation is I want to get the story of my community, the story of the mountains, and the story of every particular property out there in as many ways as I possibly can. Sometimes it's print, but not very often.
I think that that's an amazing quality in a sales professional. I've found that the most successful people that I've connected with in real estate and other industries as well are great listeners. I love that, and I think that's worth underscoring as well. But the targeted storytelling, what are some of the channels that you lean on to share those stories? Is it social
Yeah.
media, YouTube, email,
All of the above. I would
all of the
say
above?
from a social media perspective, what I get the most success out of, which is kind of interesting, is probably Instagram. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't have like a massive million followers database, but I feel pretty strongly you don't need to have that if you're targeting the right people, right? If you really truly understand your message, you're gonna get to the right people, even if only 1,000 people are looking at a particular story or reel or what have you. And it's a conversation starter. So the way that I typically launch the majority of my social media posts is an invitation to talk, an invitation to connect. And that's been very effective. I've gotten several clients, several listing clients, buyer clients, just from them slowly watching things and then getting up, the guts to reach out. So that's been really effective. I do utilize YouTube. It has not been as big of a platform for me, but it's probably just, wherever you put your attention type of deal. And then honestly, sometimes I just store on my phone, I'll store files like in Dropbox or even just in my video files of specific properties. And once I've had a conversation with somebody, I'll just text them a video, like, here's my process for XYZ. I've got a video for that. Like, that's a
Mhm.
conversation starter. And it's not just like something that people have to read, it's engaging.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's always evolving, but all of the above.
All the above. I love that you have resources that you can easily share
Sure.
with prospective clients or clients in particular. I think that that's so important. I've run into those. I've been working on developing those assets both for myself, but also for agents for whom I manage their marketing. And I think it's so important to, especially for a buyer client, as you're who's in another area of the country, which we see a lot of that here in the Lake Norman region, um, both for second homes, but also a lot of relocating. And
Mhm.
to have a visitor's guide, a comprehensive, well thought out visitor's guide is great to have. To have neighborhood or town guides, just so much, and some other ideas as well that aren't coming to my mind because I'm recording. So of
Yeah,
course I
sure,
feel under
because you hit
pressure.
the
I can't.
button.
Yeah, I'll think of all of them right after we stop recording.
Uh-huh.
But I love that. I love that you have these assets that you can quickly share. I think that's so important, and video is so important. Without a
So
doubt, that's the best asset you can share, even if it's just a 1 or 2 minute video. Um,
totally.
yeah, I love
And I
that.
think that some people get scared, especially in a market like mine, um, where there are, people who, might be a little older. People don't necessarily think they're on social media. They are. Like they're on social media. And
Hmm.
even if they aren't, it doesn't mean you can't just text them something to watch. They get a kick out of it. It shows that you are paying attention, and you're not just like throwing them a PDF.
Yeah,
Which does have
yeah,
their place too. It's does
sure.
have their place too.
But, it also helps, I think, to know your target audience. So you're very thoughtful and specific when it comes to your marketing. I'd love to know how you, because I'm working on this locally as well. How do you, what's your method or your favorite way to connect with your ideal broker partners in the area when you want to spotlight a property, a listing with a broker open?
Mhm.
Do you reach out directly? How do you do that?
Sure. I mean, we do all of the things, like the things that you're
Hmm.
supposed to do, like the custom templated emails. If I have enough time, if it's a property that I know I'm going to have enough lead time on, custom invitations, dropping those off at their office. But honestly, easiest thing is just to pick up the phone. Like I think that's a lost art. Just picking up the phone, calling somebody, texting them, saying, "Hey, I would really love you there. Here's a little bit about the property. I'd love to show it to you." Or even I just haven't seen you in a while. This would be a great opportunity. I know we're both so busy. This would be a great opportunity for us to connect. I mean, the broker open I was just telling you about, it's the middle of the holiday season. Everybody is so busy. And I had like 15 high producing agents come, some of them from over an hour away, just because I
Well,
picked up the phone.
hmm.
So don't be afraid to talk to people. That's my biggest advice, truly.
I couldn't agree with you more there. Picking up the phone, as you said, is getting to be sort of a lost art.
Yeah,
Is that a
absolutely.
Sotheby's? Is that something? Is that a coincidence, or is that something? Is that in the Sotheby's culture?
Well, it's probably like, you tend to your vibe that whole your vibe attracts your tribe thing, right? I don't
Yeah.
know if it's like Sotheby's specific. I mean,
Hmm.
a lot of Sotheby's agents have gone through the ninja programming, which there's a lot of that in ninja, but I think it just if you're a highly motivated, relationship-oriented person, and very focused, I mean, that tends to come as part of the package. I think that the majority of the producing agents in my office kind of function that way. And that's why they have good relationships. When you see an offer come across your desk and you go, "Oh, thank goodness."
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
good thing.
yeah,
Not
for
not just
sure.
because of the number, but because the person on the other side, is going to be good to work with. Like that I
Hmm.
think that's a mark of success.
For sure. Yeah. I speaking of my local Sotheby's acquaintance here in the Lake Norman, Charlotte area, I back over the summer, I came up, I didn't come up, I didn't invent the idea, surely, but I was inspired by something he said about the groups of 20 that a lot of premier agents will be a part of and will collaborate once a month or meet once a month with agents from other markets around the country. And I called him, I said, would something like that work locally? Do you think agents would you think the idea of getting agents from different brokerages around, select agents, invitation only, here locally in our market together once a month to network, to get to know one another a little bit better, bring in a speaker for education on different topics, and feed them lunch? Do you think that that would be a good idea? And he said, yeah, absolutely. That would be a great idea. So I started in September, and sure enough, he was right. It's been extremely well received. It's
That's
very
awesome.
well attended every month. And I think absolutely you should network with not only folks in your own affiliation, your own brand, but also outside of your brokerage as well. Get to know and get close with the other top producers who are serving the same kind of clients that you're serving in your area.
Absolutely. I think we could just, in general, we got to get away from this us versus them mentality. You know
I
what I
agree.
mean? Just because it's business doesn't mean there has to be any kind of contention. We
Right.
all have a similar goal. It's kind of like when you get into a contract, I always say we all have the same goal, right? It's for me to move into the house and you to, move on to your next chapter. Like that's the goal. So how can we arrive there in like the best possible way? And I think we just have to treat each other with a little more respect, understand everybody brings something to the table clearly, and how can we all be better together? Because it's going to help our clients more than anybody else. I
For
love
sure.
that. I wish you would come do that up here. I'm trying to push some people in the area to, do that because I genuinely have not had the time to put that together.
Yeah, I know.
I would
I
love
know.
for somebody else to.
I'm just so fascinated and love marketing so much that that's really been my lane. And so so to your point, the reason I bring that up is that it's part of what I do is having the time to organize these luncheons and socials and produce digital media, that sort of thing is part of what I do. If I were a full-time broker, I would not have time to do that for sure.
Yeah, not to do it at the level that you're doing it, probably. Yeah.
I have to
Yes.
say, Jennifer, you are a really good listener, by the
Thanks.
way. You've let me drone on. So I really appreciate it. And it's been so great to connect with you. I definitely want to follow up. Would love to help you organize something there locally. Be more than happy to. I'm only an hour and 45 minutes from your area. So, and you don't have to twist my arm to go visit Western North Carolina.
I know, it's so hard to come up
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I would definitely love to stay in touch. For brokers and agents who are listening to this podcast, who subscribe and follow these conversations, who are in other markets, what's the best way for them to learn more about you and connect with you?
Sure, I mean, my answer is really not going to be that different than, the one you gave
Hmm.
before. Um, like I say, Instagram is a great place to keep up to date because I don't just share my listings. I also share what's going on in the area and why everybody should want to live here, you know?
Hmm.
Um, but truly, like the easiest thing is just send me a message, shoot me a text, give me a call. If I don't answer, I will call you back. Because like my husband says, I could probably talk to a brick wall as well, you know? So
Well, as you've shown in the last 30 minutes, you're amazing at it. You're a great listener, and I have really appreciated your time today. I'll have links, of course, in the description for this episode, and would encourage anyone that wants to connect with you to give you a call for sure
great.
and talk about the Asheville market and uh, and get to know you a little bit better. Jennifer, I really appreciate you again taking time to join the podcast. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff. This is great.